Hey, welcome back to Zack of All Trades. Tonight, I'm going to be changing a motorcycle tire. I want to show you that it can be done without paying somebody else to do it. I'm not really going to talk much about the procedure of taking the tire off of the bike itself, because depending on the bike, that's going to vary somewhat as to what kind of stuff that you need to take off and what sequence you need to do it in. Now that the tire is off of the bike, the next stuff will be fairly universal. I'm going to try a method that I've never done tonight, so you might get to watch me fail. But first things first, you want to put down a couple of blocks. That protects your brake disc from the concrete on the floor. Now that you've got it set on there, you want to get the air out of the tire. The best way to do that is to take a little valve core remover and remove the valve core from the valve stem. That lets all the air out pretty quickly. Alternatively, if you don't have one of these, don't fret. You can poke your finger on the valve stem and hold it for as long as you need to. But since I do have one of these, that's what I chose to do. Now, I've got all the air out of it. Now comes the fun part. This is also going to be a little bit experimental, but it works out in my brain, so we'll see if it works too. We need to bust the bead. We need to unseat the bead from the rim here. So I'm going to show you a way to do that, hopefully. Okay, the name of this game is Leverage. Here's what I've got. I've got it hooked underneath a firm point right there. If you don't have a place in your garage like that, you can hook the other end of it underneath the edge of a car or something very heavy, very nearly non-movable. Now, here's our fulcrum, right? That's going to be the point that's pressing down. You want to get that as close to that end. In fact, I could probably move it a little bit further than that. But you want to get it as close to your hook point as possible, because that way you're going to get the most leverage. Now, check out how thin this board is relatively. Starting to do it like so, but watch. That's not going to do me any good, right? It's just not very strong. You've only got 3/4 of an inch there. Well, let's turn it this way. It's so much stronger that way, and we don't have to get a different board. We don't have to get a big 2x4 or something. So let me set this back up and we'll see if we can bust that bead loose. I did not move the tire closer to the fulcrum. Let's see if we can pop that off of there. Whoa. Alright, guess we're going to need a different board. How's that saying go about anything worth doing is worth overdoing, or use a cannon to kill a mosquito, something like that? Well, I didn't have a 2x4. Sorry, I looked for one. I got a 4x4. So, provided this doesn't lift the garage off the foundation, it ought to get the job done. And a wee bit of gentle force. Man, that dude is on there. There we go. Now let's get the other side. All right. Admittedly, that was a little bit more work than I bargained for, but we got it loose. So now on to the next step. All right, there's undoubtedly some pros and cons to this message, or this method rather. I've never done it. I'm going to go ahead and give it a try and see for myself whether it's worth doing or not. So what we're going to do, we're going to take zip ties. Boy, mine are just barely big enough, and we're going to pinch this tire. We're going to do this all the way around the tire. Pinch it down as skinny as we can get it. Okay, got it all zip tied, and I'm going to make some observations here. What I'm seeing is, I think the main benefit of this zip tie method is if you do it without it zip tied together, you have to pry that bead over the rim twice. I think with having it zip tied together, they're pretty well together, and I think that it might be able to allow you to just pry it over one time and pretty well be done with it. So we'll see if it actually works out that way. I'm going to get some soapy water and we'll get after it here. Something that cannot be overstated, it's not possible to say too many times when you're dealing with tires of any sort, is soap is your friend. I have in here, I don't know, probably 2 tablespoons of dish soap to about this much water. I just like to go heavy on the soap because soap is an incredible lubricant. So you want to hose down the surfaces that you want to slide against one another with a liberal amount of soapy water. And now my spoon. Yes, I know that this is not the proper tool for this job, but if I was the kind of person that let a little thing like that stop me, this channel wouldn't be any fun to watch at all, would it? So I got a nice crowbar here. Heavily applied some chrome to keep from marring up my rim too badly. Let's hope I can keep from doing that. So I'm just going to go ahead and reach underneath here at one of the spots where the zip tie is at. Find that happy balance. Hope it doesn't slip off and smash my finger. There. That wasn't so bad, huh? I don't even think I buggered up my rim. Alright, so yeah, it can be done, and as I suspected previously, I believe the main benefit of the zip tie business is being able to do it kind of all in one fell swoop rather than having to get one lip over, pry it all the way around, and then do the same thing all the way over again. So will I do it in the future? Yeah, probably so. I'll probably use it. So next, well, let's put a new tire on, shall we? If you're watching this video because you're new to tires in general or new to motorcycle tires, make sure that you get the direction of rotation correct. Right here. There's going to be an arrow. See if it shows up there. There we go. Direction of rotation. I'm going to make sure that it's on the rim properly. It makes a difference, especially in motorcycle tires. More severe in motorcycle tires. Well, I guess sports car tires, but motorcycle tires is what we're dealing with here. So the thing that I can tell already, this is going to make this kind of a bugger, is that although this tire has been inside the house where it's nice and warm, it's not nearly as pliable as that old tire that I just took off. So it's going to be kind of a party to get it pinched, get it squeezed together, and get the zip ties on it. But we'll give it a shot anyhow, because what other choice do we have at this point? Hey, that's not so bad. What a dirty trick that was. When you get a package of zip ties, you kind of expect them to all be the same length, right? Well, I'm here to tell you I got at least one that wasn't the same length. I thought, man, that thing just is not fitting on there like all the rest of them. That's because my zip tie was the wrong length. Dumb. Well, it fits a lot better now. Okay, here we go. It's all zipped. Hey, I'm big enough to admit defeat. And good people, let me tell you, I have a defeat to admit to you. See, I was quite certain that I could get the bead seated on this here motorcycle tire with just my little bicycle pump. Why? Because I've done it before. I've done it a few times before. One of those times being on a 33-inch off-road tire. And it worked. Well, this one, I just could not get it done. I had to take it to work today and put it on a real air compressor and pop the bead in, I don't know, a matter of a minute or maybe 2 minutes. So I was a bit downtrodden about this, thinking like, man, I kind of failed. Like, you know, I wasn't able to get it done with my minimalistic tools. But then the more I thought of it, the more it occurred to me, I couldn't have done this without a crowbar. I couldn't have done this without the tools to remove the tire from the motorcycle. I couldn't have done it without a jack. You have to establish what your minimum tools are. And it seems as though maybe it's time for me to consider the fact that maybe an air compressor should be in my repertoire of minimum tools that I ought to have. So now that we've got that hammered out, let me show you how to balance this thing with, yeah, you guessed it, minimum tools. All right, here's what I've got. I've got 2 blocks of 4x4, essentially. I think they're 3x4 or something like that, but just long enough so that my tire's up off the ground. I've got the axle, the front axle, in through the bearings of the tire, or the rim rather, and I've got this shimmed up so that, focus, there we go, so that it's mostly level. It's about, I don't know, a fraction off, but I think that's good enough. It's shimmed up with a little piece of cardboard there to make it as level as possible. Before you do this, you want to make sure that you have your valve cap on, that you've got any old weights removed, and the other thing that you wouldn't really think about is you want to make sure that any dirt or sawdust or whatever you've accumulated on this tire while you're banging it around your garage, get that stuff removed, because that'll throw it off just a little bit. And now that we got it there, we want to give it a spin and see where it settles out. Once it settles out, you want to mark the 12 o'clock position with a piece of chalk. Would work really well, but I don't have any chalk, so I'm going to mark it with a little tiny dot of Kentucky chrome here. So I'm going to give it a spin. I'm going to do this a couple of times without the camera running, just so you guys don't have to watch the whole process. Let me show you one time though. Give it a spin. I'll fast forward this, speed it up a little bit so you get the point without having to have the whole torture of time. And there it's settled out. So I'm going to mark at my 12 o'clock position here. I'm going to spin it a couple of more times and kind of take an average. If it stops, maybe if it stops here a couple of times, I'll go here. Or if it stops here 3 or 4 more times, I'll go with that. But I'm just going to spin it a couple of times to make sure that my mark is in a good spot. I won't make you watch that. All right, so 3 times now, maybe 4. I don't know. I kind of lost count. That's where my mark is centered out. So I'm confident that that's the spot where my weight needs to go, because down there is the heavier spot. So I'm going to put weight on here. I'm going to start small. I'm going to start with a, I don't know, whatever the smallest measurement is that I have, 1/2 ounce, I believe. Stick on a weight there and see where it goes. All right, I misspoke. They're not a 1/2 ounce. They are 1/4 ounce. So I'm going to stick this on, and optimally you want to try to stick these weights on as close to center line as possible. However, how handy our mark is right here where this strut part of the, or spoke part of the rim is, so center line isn't really going to be an option. You want to make sure, obviously, that you clean the surface where you're going to mount this, because you don't want them flying off, and stick it on. Now that we've got it stuck on, you want to move that over here to either the 9 o'clock, or you could go to the 3 o'clock position and let it go. see what it does. It says to me that we need more weight. Add another one. Add another one. And as I'm adding them, I'm going this direction because the one time that in my averages, the one time that it was off that direction. So I'm heading towards that while I'm adding. It feels like it needs about a half a one. I'm going to lightly stick on one last one. There, now it's just barely stuck on, so I can pop it off again. What you want to do is, if you're off, you'd rather be light than heavy. Oh, that's not bad at all. That wants to hold still. All right, folks, I think we've got a winner. But there we go. Now we have a balanced rim, a mounted tire, and we've replaced it for a total cost of the tire. Now let me be the first to say I make no claim to be the expert on this subject. I'm simply a guy with a lot of mechanical experience across a handful of different fields that has figured out how to do things myself so I don't have to pay somebody else to do them. If you are an expert on this subject and have something useful to add, please, please, please be my guest. That is part of the cool thing about YouTube, is we get to all engage in a conversation after a video comes out. So please, if it's constructive, if it's useful, please drop it in the comments, and I look forward to hearing it. With all that said, thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it the old thumbs up. Share it with somebody else that might find it useful. And I appreciate your time. I'll see you on the next video.